Well, hello there, statistically 25 to 34-year-old North American male. How are you doing? Don't answer. I filmed this a week in advance. And if you're the one person who watches me in Sweden, hello! Now quit bogarting all the knowledge and share with your friends. Today, we're going to talk about my favorite subject, breaking the fourth wall, otherwise known as asides. Thanks, Skullpoople. You see, long before Deadpool was even a glimmer in his illustrator's eye, Shakespeare was having his characters break the fourth wall in a big way. The fourth wall is the imaginary divide between the action on stage and the audience in the house. The term fourth wall was created because the vast majority of modern theater is placed on a set with 3 interior walls of some kind, with the audience on the other side of the invisible fourth wall. The really interesting thing, though, is that in Shakespeare's day, there wasn't a concept of a fourth wall. Stages were open, surrounded by audience on all sides, and likely very barren compared to what we're used to today. Because of this, the characters on stage would unironically break away from the main action of the play and talk to the audience around them. In fact, the plays were written this way, and the characters had various reasons to talk to the audience. A character could talk to the audience to cast them as temporary actors. Friends, Romans, countrymen, lend me your ears. This tactic is interesting because while there may only be a handful of people on stage, by using the audience as actors, a character suddenly has a cast of hundreds during their epic speech. A different version of this same idea is to use a specific audience member as a character in a scene. Shakespeare's characters often do this to use the audience as the butt of jokes, like Portia and Nerissa do in The Merchant of Venice. First, there is the Neapolitan prince. Aye, that's a colt indeed, for he doth nothing but talk of his horse, and he makes it a great appropriation of his own good parts that he can shoe him himself. I am much afeard, my lady, his mother played false with a smith. I once played false with a unicorn. This tactic usually gets a laugh from the audience because you're bringing everyone together through a shared reference. The poor sap that you've chosen. Another reason to talk to the audience would be to confide in them, like Hamlet does throughout his play. How all occasions do inform against me and spur my dull revenge. This is something that a lot of beginners to Shakespeare overlook. An inexperienced actor will think that Hamlet's soliloquies are him just talking to himself, so they'll disconnect and they'll go into their own little self-contained world, when it's much more interesting to engage with the audience and suddenly have an intimate connection with them, in a way that the other characters in the play don't get to have. All of Shakespeare's most famous and beloved characters seem to have these kinds of moments. And what's he then that says I play the villain? I left no ring with her. What means this lady? Now is the winter of our discontent made glorious summer by this son of York. This is to make an ass of me, to fright me, if they could. The clock struck 9 when I did send the nurse. In half an hour she promised to return. They all speak directly to us, and they all confide in us, and I don't think that it's a coincidence that the characters that we've become culturally attached to are the ones that talk directly to us, and that we form a bond with as the audience. Now, a valid question that may come up is, do the other characters on stage know when someone's talking to the audience? And the short answer is, for the most part, no. Save for one really specific moment, Shakespeare's characters don't know when somebody else is talking to the audience, otherwise known as an aside, which aids with the dramatic irony, because suddenly the audience is one step ahead of the characters on stage. So going back to Deadpool, if he had suddenly found himself in the world of a Shakespearean play, he would feel right at home. Well, that's all for this one. Ugh! Well, that's all for this one, and if you like 400-year-old dead poets, you should probably like and subscribe. The subscribe button's right down there. Go ahead, push it. Push it real good. Well, thanks for watching. He'll see you next time.